Okay, so we're going to speak to you today about Agentic AI. Show of hands, who has heard of the term Agentic AI before? Very good. Who is using a product such as Microsoft Copilot at work? Okay. Who is using something like ChatGPT to help you with work without telling your employer? Very good. At least you were brave enough to tell me. Okay, so AI is obviously quite a broad topic, but today we're going to focus on Agentic AI and the automation of tasks using Agentic AI. These are probably some statements that resonate with you, the things that customers come and tell us about all the time. It's essentially obviously trying to do much more with much less, but not only from an efficiency standpoint, also from the ever elevated customer demands as well. So hopefully using something like Agentic AI, we can address some of those. You've seen this funnel or pyramid as you've been going around a few times. We're going to focus a little bit in automate at the moment, but AI will ultimately play a part across automate right the way down to eliminate there. So AI is a broader topic. It's going to touch and unlock lots of business benefits. So what is Agentic AI? Well, fundamentally, it's a deployed AI system which can make decisions using data, so it can think for itself effectively. You give it the information, it can make its own decisions. It can also act, so through integrations and through autonomous workflows, it can start to actually take action itself. And finally, it can learn. So over time, it will learn the best way to meet the objectives that we've set it. If you think of Agentic AI as your intelligent digital employee, effectively what we want to do is, like with any new starter in your business, is give it the information it needs to meet the demands of its customers and give it the tools it's going to need to interact with those customers through every single kind of customer conversation. A quick side-by-side comparison from Agentic AI versus traditional automation, such as robotic process automation, for example. To reiterate, Agentic AI is making its own decisions. It can learn over time. Complexity in terms of the data it's handling, it can handle much more unstructured data. And finally, with the customer interactions, it can personalize those interactions using the data it has available as well. In terms of real-world application, if you look at the digital intelligent employee in the middle, and then we plug in all of the customer contact channels and all the tools that it might need, you can then get a picture of everything that it might be capable of doing. So it can handle both voice and text-based modalities from a contact center perspective. So whether it's coming through a chat channel, a messaging platform, or indeed traditional voice route, the AI can handle that. It can then integrate with other channels such as your CRM, so it can read, write, amend the data in your CRM for you. It can trigger and complete autonomous back office tasks. And if we plug it into something like real-time speech analytics, which is I think the pod you've come from, imagine the AI being able to take action while the conversation is unfolding in real time. So while the agent is talking to the customer and the AI is identifying tasks that need to be completed, the AI is actually doing that. So the agent doesn't have to think about completing those, it just knows when it's been done. So that might be creating a transcript of the conversation and emailing it out to the customer automatically. It might be coming up with a personalized offer and sending it via text message, or it might be sending a survey if it knows that this customer needs to be sent a customer satisfaction survey, for example. Okay, so let's have a look at Agentic AI in action. Josh.
Okay, fantastic. Great, can you guys hear me okay? Wonderful. So I'm planning to run you through sort of a semi-live demo right now of the Fortinet Automate platform, and we'll see sort of an Agentic AI in action. First thing to do is to probably set a little bit of background context about what we're actually going to be looking at. So we can imagine that today we are Acme Vehicles. We're a company that focuses, if you like, on servicing vehicles, MOTs, those types of things. And specifically, every year we want to check in with customers and make sure that they're coming to the appointments that they were scheduled in, and we're not missing that business. Specifically, maybe we're interested in contacting customers that are overdue for a service for their vehicle, right? So that's the example we're going to be seeing today, and we're going to be talking about how we can use some of these AI tools and technologies in order to drive things. For example, in this case, automated appointment booking, management, and communication right around that appointment. So specifically for Acme Vehicles, we have a pretend customer, Mr. John Smith. His service is 1 month overdue, and he prefers comms through WhatsApp and email, and so that's exactly what we're going to do and look at right now. So bear with me a second, I'm going to jump out the slides and throw over to the browser. So hopefully you can see the browser. So the first thing I'm going to do is give a little bit more background before we jump into the specific process that we're seeing here. So if we think of the customer specifically, as I mentioned, Mr. John, Mr. John has an email, which is going to be this one. Just allow me to delete the stuff from the previous session. So he has an inbox, if you like. He also has a WhatsApp. Now this is actually using my live WhatsApp. If WhatsApps come in while we're doing this, I do apologize. So this is hypothetical John's WhatsApp, okay? As a company, we also have a calendar, right, with some slots essentially that we can book customers like John into automatically, right? So we don't want to just be booking people in willy-nilly. There might be specific times that we cater to, and so we have those slots available. And then lastly, we have a CRM system, and that CRM system is essentially has the details and information on John, and we might want to use it to store notes or to store things, interactions that we've done with that particular customer, like John, right? And in this case, we're using Salesforce, and we'll see all of these channels built into the particular example that we have here. So I'm going to run through each of these in sequence, and then we're going to run the actual demonstration itself. Unfortunately, Sod's Law, when it comes to doing live demos, Google Calendar API has decided to play up right now, so you will notice that as information comes in, names and things aren't appearing, so I will pre-warn you of that, but I think it's interesting to see how the AI will react to it nonetheless, okay? So the first thing to sort of highlight is that this is a drag and drop style system in the sense that you connect together over 300 different integrations, right, with agentic AIs in order to be able to actually automate different types of processes. Some of these processes can be what we call more vanilla automation, right, where we've got one process, we go to another, we maybe use some very static business rules, if this, go here, if that, go there. But others can be actual agentic AIs that are powered by a large language model. So you've probably all played with ChatGPT or hopefully heard of it. So large language models are, for example, what power that. And they can be used to sort of understand unstructured information like text and then drive actions off the back of that. So using tools in order to be able to accomplish a task, right? So the first segment of the workflow that we're interested here is probably what I would call somewhat more of a traditional simple automation with a little bit of AI sprinkled in. And then the second part is where we'll see the AI actually using tools in order to accomplish said task. So you'll see here that I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We have the first sort of trigger event that we have is what we call a schedule, right? A schedule event. Now this is actually set, or if you like, programmed to trigger every day at 12 p.m. GMT. That's so when I switch this on, it doesn't fire automatically, so that we can have a little bit of control over it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to a database. This could be any database, for example, but to gather the information from customers, right? Like John, we're going to cache that information because we can use it later, and then we're going to use an AI process, in this case using a large language model provided by Google, in order to return some structured information about that customer. Specifically, we want to know, are they overdue in terms of their vehicle servicing, right? Should we reach out to them? What comms channels do they prefer? Do we have any other metadata in the notes that might be interesting? Perhaps John prefers appointments in the evening. Perhaps he prefers them earlier during the day. And we can use that information to sort of structure how we're going to interact. The next thing that we're going to do, which is what's currently not playing ball, is we're going to go and fetch an available time slot from our calendar, right? Because we want to make sure we're providing a time slot that's actually feasible. And then we're going to reach out to John through, in this case, because he's the only one that's sort of overdue, through two different comms channels, email and WhatsApp, and then we're actually going to go to our CRM and we're going to update the notes about that specific interaction. So if I switch this workflow on here, as I mentioned, this is a live workflow. It won't run automatically because it's not 12 p.m. GMT, but I can run it manually here and we can see the sequence of events that essentially goes through. So if I press run here, you can see that at a specific point in time, let's go to the database and get the information. Let's cache information about that customer. Let's have the AI do some determination on that raw data. Let's hopefully fetch something from the calendar, which isn't going to work, I warn you now. We're going to send that WhatsApp message, we're going to send the email reminder, and then we're going to find the customer in the CRM, and then ultimately update the notes for that particular customer. And now that segment of the workflow is complete. So if we go to WhatsApp, hopefully you heard the little ping. You'll see here that we got that notification. As I mentioned that Google Calendar unfortunately has decided to not play ball with me today. But also if we go to the email, you'll see that we have a new email around overdue vehicle servicing. And again, I do apologize about Google Calendar. And if we we go to the Salesforce and we refresh, you will see that if we look at the actual details, we go down, you will see again that we have notes again because of Google Calendar not playing ball. Those notes aren't filled in as we would expect. But now the interesting thing is we can look at the second segment of the workflow. And the second segment of the workflow, in my opinion, is the much more interesting piece. And that's where we're using what I would call the agentic AI. So we have either a web form being submitted in this particular case. So you can imagine John decided to go through the form that was sent to him via WhatsApp and fill that out. Or he could have responded to that email, and that's exactly what we will do. We will then use an AI agent using, in this case, a different AI model. And the key thing here to show is that you can use any types of AI models. You just go and find the one that's best for you. You drag it in, you configure it, you connect it. It is that quick to swap things out. AI market moves very quickly. But this AI agent is using, excuse me, let me just hide that, is using basically a text-based prompt to tell it a little bit about itself and what its role is inside the business, and I will show you that. And then it's able to use tools. So this is analogous to a little bit like a brain in a jar that has the ability to call out to different tools, or like having a colleague who you onboard and you say, welcome, Mr. Smith, your job within the business is X, Y, and Z, and here are the systems that you have available to you to accomplish said task. So I'll give you a little bit of background about what this prompt is before we actually reply to that particular email, and we can see how the AI is going to think through the particular process. So if we go over here, you will see that here is the prompt in question. So you are a scheduling assistant for Acme Vehicles. Your role is to process customer emails requesting vehicle service appointments. Customers may specify their preferred time slot, or they might be responding to a time slot that's been previously provided. If the customer confirms a reminder, check their notes to verify the original offered time, ensure the requested or confirmed time slot is still available, book it if it's available, let the customer know it's not available if it's not, and suggest an alternative one. And then you'll see down here that we've also told the AI that it has access to a wide variety of different tools, in this case 5 different tools to accomplish its task. And if we go back to the actual visualization here, you'll see that here are the definitions for each of those tools. So we have a tool to check if the time slot is still available. That makes sense, right? If somebody comes back and says, I want X time slot, I need to check it's still available. We have a tool to actually book the time slot if it's available, a tool to get new time slots if not available, and then a tool to be able to respond back to the customer, and a tool to locate them and get context from the CRM, right? So now this is actually a live workflow again, so I'm not going to run this in the background. We want to be able to see what's happening, so I'm going to sort of like pause it, if you like. I'm going to send an email in, we're going to pause it, and then we're going to start it again so we can see how the AI sort of thinks through the process. So the first thing to do is to go back to the email and let's draft this email. So I'm going to say something like, I want the appointment, but it looks like the email you gave me is missing the details. Can you give me a new appointment, please? Give me a new slot that works, please, right? So we could do something of this nature, right? Don't need a question mark, but we can just do that, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen for the email to come in. So we do that by just doing like so. I'm going to send that email. And now we just wait for that email to arrive. So again, what I'm doing here is I'm just doing this in sequence. In practice, in production, you wouldn't do this. You just send the email, stuff happens in the background, but we want to be able to see how the AI actually deals with this particular request, especially with the challenges that we have at the moment with the calendar, right? So let's wait for that data to come in, and then once the data's arrived, which it just has now, you'll be able to see here's the response of the customer down here, the text-based information. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch this back on, and I'm going to run it, if you like, from this last checkpoint. So we'll run the workflow here, and you can see, okay, an email's come in, we're passing it to the Agentic AI, and now we can see here on the left-hand side, I think, or right-hand side for you guys, is that we have a sort of a sequence, what we call a chain of thought. So the AI is thinking through the sequence of processes that it should do in order to accomplish the task. So the first thing it tried to do was locate the customer, right, and it got an output for that. Then it's like, right, I should get the next 3 available time slot tools. That makes sense, because I told it, actually, that time slot hadn't arrived, so can you offer me some new ones? Right, so let's see if that actually works. So you can see that we did get some time slots there as an output from it using that tool, and now, fantastic, it's going to book that time slot for the customer because it's found one that's available. And it's using the book time slot tool to do that. And then it's going to go back to the customer via email to notify them that it's booked it on their behalf. And it's doing that now. By the way, this is purposely slowed down so we can see what's actually going on. And it's completed its task. And so now if we go to Google Calendar, we'll see that it's booked that appointment in here, right, with John Smith. And you see it got all its information from the CRM in order to do so. And if we go back to the John's email, if you like, we'll see here's his response. Dear John Smith, your vehicle appointment is successfully scheduled for February, from 10. If you have any questions or need to schedule, please contact us at your earliest convenience. And so what you can see here, so if we go back to the chain of thought, is that what's interesting here is the AI took, I think, kind of misfortunate for me, but fortunate in the sense that a segment of the workflow didn't work properly. But the AI sort of thought through it, right? So the customer explained that actually the metadata around the slot didn't come through. And so I'm actually going to go and find new slots, and then I'm going to reschedule that and go back to the customer. So it's thinking through the process like a colleague would do, and it's using the right tools to accomplish the job. Now, granted, this is just a simple example around booking an appointment, but the reality is that you can scale this out to many, many different types of back office or front office processes. That could be interactions with end users, but it could also be just tasks that you have in the back office. To James's point, if you imagine in the contact center where people having conversations over a call, you can be taking real-time transcription of what's going on. You can have the agentic AI sort of to do that process already in the background for you as things are going on, right? Sending things to customers, updating system X, whatever it might be, right? Fundamentally. And then the last thing to say is that, as I mentioned before, this is a drag and drop style system that allows you to build these types of workflows very quickly, prototype them, put them into production, and then deploy them around a range of different sort of solutions. And we do that by sort of dragging things in and connecting them with arrows and things like that. So it is very, very user-friendly to set things up. And we have over 300 different pre-built integrations into everything from like systems like SAP, Salesforce, every major database, AI system, and so on is supported implicitly. So I'm just going to pause there. I'm going to hand back to James for the closing remarks.
Point your slides on for me.
Sorry?
Slides.
Oh, left.
Left, got it, thank you.
There you go.
Hopefully the screen comes back on. Yep. Okay, I guess the final point to add is that the system can be delivered to you as a blank canvas, so you can build your own. It can be built and delivered to you, or it can be a fully managed service by us as well. It can be delivered on-prem or in private cloud, in our cloud or yours, so very flexible in terms of that. We do challenge you to come up with something which you think couldn't be automated, and let's have a stab at it. Likewise, if you want us to come in and have a look and find any processes which we think would unlock some of that business benefit for you, I'm more than happy to do that as well. So if you would like to book some time in, feel free to scan the QR code on here. You've got it on your lanyards, but we will be floating around as well. So please feel free to grab us at some point throughout the day.
Fantastic.
Are there any questions? Yes, go for it, yeah.
So the scenario that you were showing, if this was a normal contact center agent and I'm speaking to the customers, the first thing I'll ask the customer is this preferred time slot working for you?
Sure.
Rather than booking it for the customer.
Of course, yeah.
Now, can you show that if the customer sends a message that this doesn't work, what will the...
Yeah, we can run that, yeah. Great idea. Okay, so let's prepare that. So this all comes down to how you prompt and how you explain to the model what you want it to do. It's a little bit like having a colleague. If you don't give good instructions, you're not going to get good outputs, right? So let's listen for that email to come in. Oh, sorry. I thought I was.
Kill the slide, yeah.
There we go. There's me typing away, thinking I was showing stuff. All right, so we're just waiting for the email to come in. Right, so the email I sent there, just so you know, I said, this slot does not work for me, can you please find me another, right? So that's the contents of the email. In fact, if we go down here, you will see, yeah, this slot does not work for me. Can you please find me another? So let's run this and let's see how it thinks through the process. I'm keen to see myself, actually. So we'll run the workflow. So first of all, it's going to locate the customer by the looks of it. So it's using.
While this is doing it, another random thought.
Sure.
Let's say the customer says, "Can you share what are some of the options available for me?"
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Sure, we can do that afterwards as well. So it's getting new time slots here, as we can see. Now I think there's a problem with Google Calendar at the moment. That's why the thing at the top wasn't working. So let's see if we get anything back. It looks like it's only returned one available time slot. And as you can see here, it's just come back and said, currently there is no other available time slots apart from the previously scheduled time slot and thing. And I think that's because of Google Calendar. Okay, so that's interesting. But what did you want to ask it again?
So let's say the customer says, can you, instead of saying this time slot does not work,
yeah,
just add the line, can you share what are the options available?
Gotcha. I think at this time we will know that there are no other options available, but we can do that. So let's do that.
Can you share some of the slots available?
Can you share some other slots available to me, please? Let's do something like this. Let's listen to the input. This is the most boring part, waiting for the IMAP protocol to resolve. The reason this takes time is because you have to imagine the email has to arrive into the inbox, be read, and so on, and then continue. So, and now if we switch this on, let's see how it thinks through this process. It's a good point. So again, it's locating the customer. I think that's a fair, wants to know everything it can about it. I'm getting the 3 next available time slots, which makes sense, right? We asked it, what are the times you can give me? And then it says currently the only time slot available is February 28th, 2025 from 10 a.m. to 10 a.m., which makes sense because Google Calendar doesn't like me today. So, but as you can see, yeah, it's an interesting exercise because it's thinking through the process depending on the context and the information it has about it. Yeah.
Maybe as a follow-up and we can talk later.
Of course, yeah, happy to.
We can have a scenario where there are some automations.
Of course, yeah.
And the other question that I had was, would this be more applicable for larger volumes of emails coming in?
Yes, of course. So this runs on sequence. So each node you see here in the canvas is actually running on a loop. So it will run on a sequence of whatever data you feed it.
So my question is, let's say there's a customer of ours.
Yeah.
And there are, let's say, 2 customers. One is an enterprise customer, large email volume coming in, HMRC.
Yeah, yeah.
There are like millions of emails coming in each month around the taxation period versus a small player which has probably from 50,000 emails coming in. So this other customer who has just 50,000 emails coming in, would he be better placed to have an agent answer these emails, or would it be better placed to have this wait?
Well, this would be substantially cheaper to be able to. You were big time, yeah, exactly, yes.
And with a smaller one?
Yes, with a smaller one too, yes, especially. Even when factoring the cost of using the AI models, which become cheaper and cheaper every day, it's substantially cheaper to do so, yeah.
And how about the vulnerability? Because let's say it's using ChatGPT.
Well, in this case, it's using OpenAI Azure, but yeah.
So it would capture the sentiment and it would be exposed to...
Exactly, so it depends, but that's all depending on the prompt and the explanation that you give, right? So if you want to understand if the customer is upset as well, then you want to build that into your description of your role as the AI, right? So your job is not just to book appointments, but your job is to figure out if the customer is upset. Maybe you should go going and seeing what offers we can give them, right? And doing that as part of that. It depends on the role you give the AI and the tools that you make available to it, much like you would do to a colleague. Right?
So with the customer, let's say from a customer standpoint, when I say our enterprise customer, they would not want their things, their custom database to go on OpenAI because
Well, so no problem, because we support all large language models, including ones that are private. So things like Llama, 3.4, Mistral, even DeepSeek. We don't talk about the Chinese, but even DeepSeek, you know. So yeah, we support all of those models implicitly. Oh, my pleasure. Sorry, James. Back to you.
Any further questions? Last couple of minutes.
Just some common challenges in terms of implementation that you hear from your customers.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is actually mapping out the use cases, right? Because reality is that this is all process driven. So if your process is rubbish or you don't understand your process, that's going to be the challenge, right? Because with AI, it's not better than a human being. It's sort of analogous to a human being. And so it's like if you have a colleague and you have well, maybe this is how we do it on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday. You have to be able to codify and write down what those rules are, right? The only difference is you aren't writing them in code and they're not static. You're able to build nuance around it because you're using human language to describe it, right? And also, I think the saying is, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? Agentic AI is very useful in some situations, but in other situations, you just want to do vanilla standard process-to-process automation. And the interesting thing here is we saw the AI use, I think, 5 tools, right, as part of its process. Now, those tools happen to just be simple processes where we're getting data from point A and moving it to point B, but it could be other AIs. And this is the interesting thing, because then you've got manager AIs that give to delegate tasks to, say, employee AIs, who themselves might have AIs or tools as well. And so you have this sort of like tree-like structure where you're divvying out tasks, and some of it will be your standard vanilla automation because that's what warrants it, and others will be you're dealing with more unstructured, nuanced data, and that's where you want the AI in place. Yeah. So knowing the process is the key part there, in my opinion.
Anything else? We're almost at break time. Almost. Okay. Thank you very much.
If you would like another demonstration talk, all things AI, I'm more than happy to do so. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.